Hello and welcome to this tutorial on using GameMindForge for your games. GameMindForge is a plugin that utilizes GPT 3.5 or GPT-4 to add intelligence to your games. And really, it's an open-ended system that you can use however you see fit. Once you get started, it becomes more obvious, the various use cases. But for now, the simple use case we're going to be looking at are the few that are built in. So first and foremost, you got to go to the marketplace, the Epic Games Unreal Engine Marketplace. Go to search products, type GameMindForge, and there it comes up. And you go and you have to buy it. And then once it has pre-purchased, you click Install to Engine, and it will install to in this case, 5.1, but I'm in the middle of updating it to 5.2, and then you are ready to go. The next thing you need to make sure you do is have an API key for OpenAI. This is very important. So you go to platform.openai.com, make sure you have signed up for an account. This is not a tutorial on signing up for OpenAI accounts, but I'm just showing you this so that it helps you. So you go to the platform.openai.com/account/org settings. See here that I've got my organization here. And then you go over on the left-hand side under user to API keys. And then you create a new API key, give it a name. You create the secret key. Now I'm blurring these out because these are real keys, so I don't want people to be using them. And next we're going to go and take a look at what we set in Unreal Engine. So here we are in a new third-person template level. And first thing we want to do is make sure that from our plugins, so edit plugins, go to AI, and you will see GameMindForge. Make sure it is enabled. So click on that, check mark. It will restart the editor. We will be right back. And now we're back, and if you go to AI, you now see that it has a checkbox next to it, and so it is enabled. So the next thing we need to do is set up some initial settings in the plugin. So we're going to go to Edit, Project Settings. Going to go down to, on the left-hand side, to Plugins and GameMindForge. Now, you can leave authentication URL and GPT model as they are, but for your API key and your org key, you're going to need to copy those from the keys that you created in the OpenAI website. So I will go ahead and copy those. Okay, I have placed my API key and my org key into my GameMindForge plugin settings. And so I can close this box. We're going to make a very simple call first to OpenAI. So I'm going to add a new actor. We'll call it AI example 1. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert this to a blueprint. Pilot, save it. Okay, now I'm going to add a component. GameMindForge. So this has been added. So you can see it right here. GameMindForge is a component. And now we need to go to the event graph. And now what I'm going to do is on begin play, I'm going to, right here, bring out a reference to the GameMindForge plugin, and I'm going to say send GPT request. And I'm going to say something very simple like, return to me an introduction for a RPG game welcoming players to the game and saying hello, no, and introducing them to the Kingdom of Bulgaria. I'm going to just add something to the beginning of this. You are a fantasy bard, storyteller, and then I'm going to say return only the response and no preamble, because sometimes OpenAI likes to say some example text for your bard will be, and then it includes that text. So that's what it's going to do. It's going to send, if I press play, nothing's going to happen because I need to get ready to respond to it. So click on the GameMindForge component and click on the OnProcess GPT and click the little plus here. Creates a new event. And what we're going to do is I'm going to print to the console the GameMindForge rake the chat response GPT. And the easiest thing to do here is get the main response text. So if I compile and save and press play, into my output log, and it said, "Greetings, travelers. Welcome to the land of Lagoria, a kingdom ruled by magic and mystery. Here, ancient ruins and forgotten treasures await those brave enough to seek them out, but beware, for dark forces also lurk in the shadows, waiting to strike at any moment. As a bard, I shall guide you through these lands, spinning tales of heroism and adventure. So gather your weapons and prepare your spells, for your journey in Lagoria awaits." So just like that, our game has some content in it that was generated on the fly and has never existed before this moment. Next, we're going to take a look at the sample content built in. You can see this by going to your engine, plugins, and then go to GameMindForge, content. Go into maps and click on Simple Map 1. So here we have a basic map that has a few demonstrations and a few example use cases. So for starters, we have these houses that have a text field on the front of them. And if we look at them, they are a ye olde shop blueprint, and they have inside them a GameMindForge component. So if we edit the blueprint, we can see that on begin play, we say, I need a single name of a fantasy shop in front of a building. It should indicate what kind of shop this is, something short and fantasy, medieval appropriate. No quotation marks in the output. Please be very creative and don't repeat yourself. The answer should just be the name of the shop and nothing more. Feel free to include family names, as if sometimes the shop is owned by a family. For example, Jones Tannery, the Mystic Quill, Dragon's Armor, Peter's Poisons, Jameson's Butcher, the Weaver, etc. So we give it some examples, and then you'll see that we have a text render component attached to this, which is just sitting here in the front of the building. Now, when the response is sent, and we simply set it in the text render component. And so if we play, I'm going to simulate because this way the camera will stay right here. So as you can see, it made Frostfire Forge, Frostworm Forge, Griffin's Forge, Aurora's Apothecary, the Enchanted Emporium. So this is a very simple example of generating names of buildings in your fantasy world. Next, I have a more complicated example here called the GPT Actor. And this actually, what I did is I put the text to send directly as a variable that's exposed on the blueprint. So it's a quick and easy way to make information appear on actors. And in this particular case, what I've set it to do is to show the results from this prompt into this output text. So here I am. You are an NPC wandering poet near the woods in a fantasy medieval game. You are a passing traveler. or you see a passing traveler, what would you say to them? Write your greetings in Shakespearean English following iambic pentameter. So let's see what that does. Iambic pentameter, of course, being the mode that Shakespeare used for his writing. So, hail, traveller, what brings thee to these woods? Art thou lost, or dost thou wander for goods? Perchance thou seek'st some inspiration fair, to fill thy heart with verse beyond compare. Fear not, for I am but a humble bard, whose words may bring joy to thy weary heart. I've got some other GPT actors. This is Autobot, and we can see the prompt for this one. You are an NPC called Autobot in the futuristic game. Another one. This is a wizard, I believe. You are an old, wizened wizard who is wary and amused when the person walks up to you. What do you say? Greetings, wanderer. What brings you to my humble abode? Are you seeking knowledge or perhaps a quest to embark on? I must warn you, though, my services are not for the faint-hearted. And deep in the forest here, we have this lost Little Red Riding Hood. And it basically says, you are an NPC of a little girl who is lost in the woods in a fantasy medieval game. You see a passing traveler. What would you say to them? Write in Old English. Greetings, kind traveler. I am but a poor lass lost in these woods. Wouldst thou be so kind as to guide me back to the safety of my village? I have strayed from the path and know not how to find my way back. But the neat thing is, let's just play this now. So we have a very simple third-person character that we can walk around. Let's go find the character in the woods. Good morrow, kind traveler. I am but a lost maid in these woods. Might thou be of aid in finding my way home? Yes, sure, follow me. And we will work our way back to the village. And I believe that you must belong at the Moonstone Apothecary. Or maybe the Goblin Squadron. So with that, we have a couple of different examples of the ways that you can use generative information to create text. Really, so it's up to you to be creative and decide what you want to do with the text. You can, I mean, this is not a Chat GPT or a GPT-4 or GPT 3.5 lesson. That is a much deeper topic than I can go into in the tutorial here. This tutorial is strictly about learning to use GameMindForge. One last thing is a smart way to create data structures in Unreal Engine directly. So here we have a demo structure, which is a name, gender, and an age. I preset this with values name, gender, and age in order for GPT to understand what data will go in this structure. Okay, so these are the default values, and this is important. So name, gender, age, we have a string, and a float for this struct. And what we do is we have a demo struct parser, and it's very simple. On begin play, we convert this structure to a demo struct container. Now, the reason we do it in the container, now the container just contains an array of demo structures, of these structures here. The reason we have to do that is because we are sending a JSON object, and the JSON object needs to be an array in order to return multiples of data. In our particular case, we're going to be generating characters and receiving their name, gender, and age. So here's what we did. We convert the struct to a JSON string, and this is built into GameMindForge. This ability to create a user-defined struct and convert it into a string. And I say generate a list of 10 random Elven characters, first and last name, gender, and age using the format. And what that will do is that will send through name, gender, age, string, float. And then it'll send a GPT request just like we did before. And then on return, the main response text we convert JSON to a structure. So we're assuming that we're getting a JSON string back from ChatGPT. And it will do this because when we send the struct to JSON, it automatically adds in JSON output start and JSON output end to the string. And that will also be returned with the result from GPT. And this particular code here looks for the start and the end of the string, converts it into data, and populates it into this structure here, a demo struct instance that I have created here. And then it loops through each thing, each element in the array, and it breaks the demo structure out and then prints it to the screen. So if we run this, we will see these characters displaying on the screen. And after a few seconds, we can see that it has created character names, genders, and their age. The options are limitless for the complexity of the JSON that you can create. And as long as you parse JSON to string when you send it out to ChatGPT through the GameMindForge plugin, it will send data back in the same formatted structure and allow you to really, really go deep with the generation of procedural content for your games. And that is it. Thank you for watching this tutorial on how to use the GameMindForge plugin.